I always say in my head, if I could bottle this feeling up when you're in the gym and you're just doing your thing, music pumping, aggression, endorphins, adrenaline, you're feeling like a man, you're doing that hard physical work. If I could bottle this feeling up and sell it, I would be a trillionaire. So many guys are one fucking decision away from making their life so much better, because I know there's a lot of guys out there who are so far removed from this type of feeling. They have not had this feeling for a long time because they're sedentary. They're working an office job. They're busy. They're stressed. Guys, you're men. You're gonna like this feeling when you actually just get in there and get this feeling. You don't have to worry about anything. It's just gonna come naturally. You're gonna like this feeling. We're made for this shit. I'm telling you, we are made for this shit. That's what makes us men. It's a big part of us. It's in us. It's our instinct. And you're one decision away. You're just one single decision away. Join a gym. Lift. I promise you'll love it. I promise you're gonna miss this feeling. You had this feeling when you were younger. Your favorite songs are on. You got the adrenaline rush. You're letting out that aggression. You're beating on the weight, taking that stress away. You're gonna love this feeling, and you're a single decision away. Make the move, get in the gym, and lift weights. That's the best thing I can tell you right now. You need this feeling, and you're gonna love it. Right now we're going to talk about chin-ups. Chin-ups are one of the best back builders out there. You need a vertical pull in your routine. You have to have that. You can't go without it. So chin-ups. I'm going to give you 3 tips today. Let's start off with tip number 1, which is make sure that you're getting a full range of motion. When I do my chin-ups, if you look, it looks like I'm actually coming down and I'm standing on the floor or I'm standing on a box. I'm not. I'm coming down, I'm getting a dead hang for a second, making sure that I'm fully stretched, fully ROM'd out, and then I pull up. So I'm maximizing range of motion, and I'm doing it consciously, because if you don't, your nervous system is a powerful thing. Your brain is powerful. Your brain's going to try to minimize your range of motion because it's going to want you to get more reps. It's going to want you to try to take the easy route. You got to overcome that brain power. You got to force yourself to come down, feel a stretch in the lats, the teres, the muscles of the upper and mid back area, and then from there, focus on driving the elbows down, power yourself up to the top. Tip number 2 is an imperative mental cue that is great for any kind of pull, horizontal or vertical. So you need to take your mind off your hands. You need to take your mind off your forearms and biceps, and you need to laser-like focus on your elbows. Pull back with the elbows when you're doing horizontal rolls, and pull down with the elbows when you're doing vertical pulls. This is so key for maximizing your back muscle, mind muscle connection. And most people have a real problem with this because you can't see your back muscles in the mirror. It's just a little bit more challenging. But this is my number 1 tip for improving your mind muscle connection, is pull with your elbows anytime you're doing a row or a vertical pull. Tip number 3 is for anybody who's not able to do a bodyweight chin-up or pull-up yet. And that's fine. You're not alone. There's millions of people out there just like you who aren't there yet, but you will get there. In the meantime, use the lat pull-down machine, use an assisted pull-up chin-up machine, or use a method known as the band assist. Either of those 3 methods are going to work fine. What I would recommend if you're at a gym is to use the assisted pull-up chin-up machine or either just the lat pull-down. And when you do either of those methods, you're going to use the same mental cues and tips that I dropped today. It's the same motion. So don't beat yourself up if you're not doing bodyweight pull-ups or chin-ups yet. You're just fine. You're going to get there. And that's tip number 3. So here you can see I'm going to do a tutorial on low bar good mornings. A guy named Ryan asked me how to do these He asked me for some form tips, and I think this is a perfect opportunity because I have this lift as a normal supplement on this lift day today. So I'm gonna give you 2 tips, Ryan, and the first tip is you need to make sure that you use the low bar position when you're doing good mornings. I would never recommend doing good mornings in a high bar position, and here's why. The thing with the low bar position, it's gonna make the bar more likely to roll onto your neck when you're folding over in that bottom hip hinged position. And you really don't want the bar rolling on your neck for obvious reasons. 1, it's gonna hurt, and 2, you're literally shifting where the bar is in relation to your body. So you're shifting the weight during the rep, especially at the bottom, which is your most vulnerable position for each rep. So place the bar in the low bar position, lock it into place by pulling it down with your hands. I would say as you're coming down to the bottom, you should be pulling down onto the bar, really driving it into your rear delts. That's how you're gonna keep it in place. This next tip is going to focus on safety because this is a technical movement. You have weight on your back, you're hinging at the hips, and anytime you do that, there's a chance that you might not come back up. So what you want to do is pay attention to where I have the safety set on my rack right now. I don't have them set high enough that I'm going to bump them at the bottom of my rep position because that would definitely mess me up. The bar would get crooked. That could lead to an injury in itself. But I do have them set about probably 3 or 4 inches below my bottom point. So if anything did happen, if I were to fall, if I were to fail and have to bring the bar back down, the safeties would catch me. They would save me from injury. This is super important, especially when you're young. You're not really as likely to think about this stuff, but that's why I'm dropping this tip because it is that important. So set your safeties properly when you're doing good mornings. It could save you from an injury that affects you for the rest of your life. All of a sudden we're at tip number 3. I said I was going to do 2 tips, but it's really hard for me to do that. I have to do more than that because there's just more to say. Tip number 3 is all about how you start each rep, and you have to power your hips back. So you shoot your hips back, and it's so important because if you do not do that, you aren't doing a hip hinge movement, and this is one of the kings of the hip hinges. So if you just lean forward, the bar does not actually stay above your feet. It would arc forward with your, with your chest and your shoulders and your neck area. But if you shoot your hips back, the bar path actually just comes straight down. And you should be able to see this in these reps right here. The bar is just coming straight down. It's staying over my feet. So the weight stays in the same spot vertically, and you're only gonna make that happen if you hip hinge back. Also, when you do this, don't be afraid to have knee bend. See, I have some knee bend there. I would never recommend straight-legged good mornings to anybody. I think that's a disaster for the lower back waiting to happen. I would never want to see you do that with straight legs. You have to have some knee bend. One way to think about this movement is like a Romanian deadlift with a bar on your back in the low bar position. So Ryan, I gotta say, these 3 tips, they're really gonna help you with your good mornings. Let's just recap quick. Start each rep by shooting the hips back. Play it safe. Keep the safeties in a smart position, and always do your low bar good mornings with the bar in the low bar position. See, I even call them low bar good mornings because to me there's no other way. High bar good mornings are a disaster. You just can't do that. All right, Ryan, hope you get good at your good mornings. That's kind of funny to say. I do hope you get good at your good mornings though. Whether you know this or not, I have a Substack. It's called Training with Ryan, Learn, Lift, Grow, and every single week I drop an article on training or nutrition or just whatever I feel like talking about that week, but 99.9% of the time, it's training or nutrition. So this week's article, let's get into it. 3 ways to improve your mind-muscle connections, how to mentally connect with your muscles for guaranteed results. So to me, the mind-muscle connection is really best described by imagining that you're going inside the muscle while it's being worked. You're purposefully flexing it harder than it needs to be flexed to perform the exercise. Really, in your mind, you're actually becoming the muscle. So that's the way that I think about the mind-muscle connection. Now I want to get into the first tip. Let's just do a quick summary here. So know which muscles an exercise is targeting. So of course, you're not going to be able to become the muscle if you don't know which muscle you're supposed to become, right? I mean, that seems kind of obvious. So researching muscle activation ahead of time is really how you solve that problem. And I go into that a little more in detail here, as you can see. But again, this is a summary. What I really want you to do is read the actual article. You're going to get the most benefit there. So tip number 2, this is to use high rep sets to feel the muscle. The reason for this is that high rep sets really bring the burn. So you're really getting that literal pinpoint illustration of where to direct your focus. And it's very important, like I said, to become the muscle. So when transporting yourself into that muscle that you're working, the burn, it really highlights your final destination. So tip number 2 is, this is really an important one, and it really outlines the importance of high rep sets. High rep sets should not be forgotten. And let me summarize tip number 3. So closing the deal. This tip is really about the power of repetition and practice. And the mind-muscle connection, it's a skill. And skills, they have to be built over time. And you do this, again, through repetition, practice, and just consistent efforts. So if you want to hone your mind-muscle skills, you need to repeatedly train with the intent of doing just that. You need to go in the gym and tell yourself, this is what I'm in here for today. This is what I'm going to focus on, and your mind-muscle connections are going to get better when you do that. So you can see, I linked to another article here, the Fundamental Series Rotating Rep Ranges, where I talk about the power of rotating rep ranges. And then I have a little conclusion. Obviously, I would definitely appreciate your subscription, and I think it's valuable. You're going to get that weekly article, something to read, something to keep your mind on the game. And there's a lot of value to that. So what I really recommend is reading this full article at trainingwithryan.substack.com. This article right now is pinned at the top just because I released it last Sunday. So you'll find it right at the top, no problems. What I'll also do, I'll leave a link in the description for you as well. And I'm about to close out this vlog. So on that note, I want you to make decisions that move you forward. And I'll talk to you again soon. In the meantime, train hard, train smart, and grow.